We're opening up the mailbag for the first time ever and answering your questions. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to ring that notification bell. That way you're notified of our daily segments and weekly lives. With that being said, guys, I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers, and welcome to the Huddle. So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be kind of going on a little bit more of some structure and a schedule. And on Fridays now, I'll be reading off your mailbag questions. The mailbag post will be going out on Wednesdays. There's two ways you can ask a question. You can ask here on State of the Steelers as a community tab post will be put out on Wednesdays asking for your questions. Also, another way to answer or ask a question, is to hit me up on Twitter. You can find me at State of Steelers. On Wednesday, also, the same post will be put out there asking for your mailbag questions. We did it for the first time this past Wednesday. This is recorded on Thursday evening. So, yeah, a little bit over a day to come up with your questions. For today's first time ever show, we have 4 questions coming, four great questions. The first one comes from my good friends Jaime and Blue from the Drunk Turkey Show. And this one comes out of Twitter. Drunk Turkey Show asks, who are your offense and defensive MVPs to this point? On defense, I think that answer is probably a little bit more easier than the offensive side. On defense, I'm going with Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's been a game changer. He's been a ball hawk. He's been the staple point of the defense, the leader of the defense, and the leader by example as well. Typically, or normally, I might say T.J. Watt. However, T.J. Watt hasn't played for the majority of the year, and he's been injured and been going through a bit of the injury bug himself this year. Cam Hayward's had a pretty decent game year up to this point, but he's also been riddled with nagging ankle injuries and things of that nature that has kind of, he's not played up to the par of Cam Hayward in the past, but still very effective and good. But you cannot take away what Minkah Fitzpatrick has done. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is on his way of being a great safety in this league, if not already is. And he is my current MVP on the defense. On the offensive side, it's a little bit tougher to answer. My opinion, I want to look for consistency over time. There's been some flashes. You've had George Pickens make some incredible catches. You've had him not be a part of the game. You've had Diontae Johnson make some incredible catches. You've had him drop, fumble, run backwards, whole 9 yards. Here recently, Najee Harris has been playing significantly better, but, consistently over the entire span of the season. That's just a recent thing. Now it's going in that upward trajectory, and I anticipate if Najee continues at this former fashion and the Steelers can make some noise, perhaps maybe Najee becomes the offensive player of the year. I think that Pat Freiermuth has had a fantastic year being that security blanket for the quarterback. Kenny Pickett, he's a rookie quarterback that didn't start the entire year. He's had some up and down games. He's been more recently on the upwards and trajectory, been playing better here recently after the bye. And so without all that being said, I think the most consistent guy throughout the entire season, week in, week out, is Mason Cole, center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's done a fantastic job. He's done his part. He's been the anchor for the offensive line, an offensive line that, has surprise people a little bit. They've had a couple of games here and there, but for the most part, that's been on Dan Moore and perhaps Chooks Korafor when there's been failures on the offensive line. It's not really been up the middle. And Mason Cole's been dealing also with an ankle injury, and it's not really affected his game when he's in the game. And so I'm going to be going with Mason Cole, and I'm going to be going with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Great question, guys. I appreciate that. Again, if you want to ask me a question, you can reach me at State of Steelers on Twitter. The next 3 questions that we're going to be going over are from the community tab here at YouTube. So the first one comes from Steelers fan. Who has more targets this week, Diontae or Pickens? Well, Diontae Johnson found himself on the injury report with a hip issue. He was limited to yesterday. Even without that, I think that, you see what Diontae Johnson did last week. He was targeted. He had some okay catches and some key moments, but he also had a drop fumble and another drop that was could have extended a drive and not scored a touchdown. And so, with all that being said, the targets that he's had and the inability to get in the end zone and the drops and weighty downs are still a concern. And I think that you have George Pickens, who was visually upset on the sideline. I anticipate, similar to how you hear the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I think that that's going to be the case. I anticipate the Pittsburgh Steelers targeting George Pickens more often in this game. Thank you for your question. I think Diontae has the targets. The next one's going to be coming from 412 Scene. I like the way you spell your name there. It's pretty awesome. It's Scene. The E is with a 3. That's pretty cool. So he goes, what do you think has attributed to Najee turning the season around? Well, I think Najee followed Stella to Jamaica in the bye week and got his groove back. Just kidding. At the end of the day, I think this is a multifaceted, question. I think it has to do with his health. It has to do with, gaining some chemistry with the offensive line, and the offensive line also gaining chemistry within themselves. You had, two key players that are very new in the center, in Mason Cole and in James Daniels up front. Najee Harris missed a lot of football and training camp due to injury, and he wasn't the same early on in the season. And then, once he did, he had to get out of his head, in my opinion. He was doing the shake and bake, kind of trying to, make people miss versus using his physicality and his size to run over people. And here of a recent, he's definitely turned that page and turned that corner. And I think it has to do with seeing the holes, becoming familiar with the offensive line, understanding, their strengths and weaknesses, and the tendencies on where the cut back hole is going to be at, things of that nature. I think that, he was not seeing the holes open up early on in the season. And as he starts to get familiar with the offense, I think he's finding those holes based on the tendencies and their strengths. And so I feel that this is going to continue. I think he's turned a page when it comes to trying to fake people out and move forward. Maybe perhaps he heard a little bit of the noise and just kind of started moving forward. And I like what he's doing. But yeah, I think it's a multifaceted thing. It's going to have to deal with his health, getting healthier, and experience in the line and the chemistry that he's built with the line. I appreciate the question, 412 Scene. The last question comes from The Truth Is Out There. I like that name. You probably you probably found me through the Drunk Turkey Show. If you're not a subscriber on the Drunk Turkey Show, it's our sister channel or show. We deal with a lot of true crime and stuff like that. We've been dealing with the Idaho 4 murders and the Delphi murders. If you're interested in that type of content, we also talk about conspiracies and even UFOs and things of that nature. Go follow us, the Drunk Turkey Show. I have a feeling The Truth Is Out There found us through DTS. But The Truth Is Out Here says or asks, do you think that Matt Canada's job is safe after this season ends? If the Steelers continue to win, yes. I'm leaning on that direction regardless, just because of the way the Pittsburgh Steelers conduct business. They usually don't fire coordinators. They allow them to either walk away and or let their contract expire, so to speak. And so, Matt Canada said it earlier on this year in a press conference that Tomlin was aware and had told them that there's going to be some growing pains, especially when you're transitioning to a rookie quarterback, and that they needed to understand that there's going to be some potential hate or coming from the media and the fan base if they're not, patient with those growing pains. And I think we've seen that. Now, as the season progresses, I think we've seen more of the playbook being used. And part of that might be because this young offense and inexperience within itself, meaning you have players that are on second contracts, but first year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mason Cole, James Daniels. And so you have those guys in key positions. Now that they've gotten accustomed, the game has slowed down a little bit for them. They can open up that offensive playbook a little bit more. And I think we've been seeing that. And I think we've seen that, especially in the running game, that this offense can move the ball up and down the field a little bit. Is it perfect? No, by any means not. But is it making steps and strides in the right direction? I believe so. Earlier in this season, we were complaining about the offense not getting not staying on the field. 3 and outs repeatedly, tiring out the defense, making the defense play 100 snaps in the first game, things of that nature. And then we progress to being able to move between the 20s and then, adding some points on the board, which are field goals. The next step is to transition from field goals to touchdowns. I anticipate the Steelers to start doing that. I'm not sure if this is the game upcoming against the Baltimore Ravens that's going to happen. I mean, when you play a division rival like the Baltimore Ravens, records, all those things go out the window. This is usually a game that is won by less than one score. And I don't anticipate that to be different this time around. It's going to be a good game, but I anticipate after this game that the Steelers are going to probably put the ball in the end zone more. And, the fact that the Steelers are going to more than likely be targeting Pickens, like I mentioned earlier, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I anticipate that they're going to take some chances with George Pickens. And to me, he's not a 50-50 guy. He's a 75-25 guy. And so in my opinion, I think three out of 4 times he's coming down with that ball. And in my opinion, if you're doing that, then you're giving him an option or an opportunity to make a play. And I think that young man makes several plays and will make the play. And I think maybe perhaps the Steelers put on some points this week if they target him in the manner that I anticipate them doing so. But even at that, I don't anticipate this game being, won by significant amount of points either way. And so it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win. My prediction was 16-12. However, after thinking about George Pickens potentially getting the ball more often, I'm thinking the Steelers score 24. That's all I got for you guys. Next week, please, if you guys want to ask the questions, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Facebook and on YouTube. Look for that post on Wednesdays. With that being said, I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers.